G'day guys and welcome to Aussie English. My objective here is to teach you guys the English spoken down under. So whether you want to speak like a fair income Aussie, or you just want to understand what the flippin' hell we're on about when we're having a yarn, you've come to the right place. So sit back, grab a cuppa and enjoy Aussie English. G'day guys, welcome to this episode of Aussie English. I'm your host Pete and this is the Aussie English podcast, the number one podcast that teaches you Australian English. Whether you want to understand how people speak down under, you just want to be able to understand what they're saying when they're talking to you, or whether you want to speak just like us native Aussies, this is the podcast for you. Today is another expression episode, and the expression for today is to face the music. To face the music. This is one that I hear quite a bit. This is one that my parents would use a little bit on me when I was younger. As usual, let's go through and define the words in the expression to face the music, guys. So, face, this is obviously used as a verb in this phrase, but it's also a noun. So a face or the face of something is the front of something. Usually if we're talking about people, it's the front of your head. So where your eyes are, your mouth is, where your nose is, that's your face. When it's used as a verb, however, so if you face something, to face something, it is to take your face and look towards something. So to confront something figuratively or to literally point yourself towards that thing. So to address something, to confront something when we're talking about facing something in a figurative sense or in a literal sense, if we point our face towards something, we're facing it. The last word we'll go through is music. The music or some music. Music is a vocal or instrumental set of sounds, a song or singing or pleasant noise. I'm sure you guys will know what music is. So as usual, let's dive in and define the expression itself, to face the music. What does it mean if you face the music or if you're forced to face the music? To face the music means to be confronted with the unpleasant consequences of your actions or to receive punishment for your actions. So most often you're going to hear this said like, it's time for you to face the music. It's time to face the music. You need to face the music to face the music. So let's go into the origin of this expression. I looked this up. It is unknown. We're not 100% sure where this expression originates from, but there are two likely possible origins. Firstly, the expression could have originated from disgraced officers, so people in the army or some kind of military force that had to literally face the music, that is, point themselves towards the music when they were being drummed out of their regiment. So if they're being drummed out, that would be like the drums were playing as they were kicked out, as they were removed from their regiment, from the group that they were in. So they would have to stand there and literally face the music that was being played on the drums as they were thrown out, as they were disgraced and chucked out of the regiment, of the military. That's the first possible origin of this expression. The second one could have been when actors had to face the music on stage. When they came out on stage, if they were facing the audience, they were also facing the orchestra pit. So this is where everyone in the orchestra was sitting below the stage, in front of the stage. Actors would have to face the orchestra pit, where the music was coming from. So when they were on stage, they could have said, as they were about to go on stage, that it's time to go out on stage and face the music. So it's time to face the music. It's time to get out there and have to do this stuff. We have to face the music. We have to face the consequences of what it is to be an actor. So as usual, guys, let's jump through a few examples of how I would use this expression in everyday life. So a few everyday life examples or situations where you might hear this kind of expression being used. Number one, imagine that you are a student at school, and this is probably mostly the case for male students, But imagine you're misbehaving in class and the teacher decides to give you detention. So this is where you have to go and stay in a classroom during lunchtime or recess. So those periods where you have time to go outside. If you get detention during those periods, as a punishment, you have to go and sit in a classroom and do homework or do work. And it can also happen after school. So I didn't get this too much at school, although I'm sure I did a few times, probably during lunchtimes. But imagine you're a student who misbehaves, you get given detention. When the bell goes at the end of the day, or say it goes just before lunch or recess, your friends might say, don't forget, you've got detention, time to face the music. You're going to have to go sit in the class or lunch or for a certain period after school and do homework. It's time to face the music. You've got to have to do your detention now. You're going to have to face up to the consequences of misbehaving in class. It's time to face the music. Example number 2. Imagine that you are a criminal who's stolen, say, $1 million from your business. So you've taken all this money from your business and fled overseas. You've run off. If the country that you've run off into, so you've escaped Australia and you've gone into somewhere, say, like the Philippines, say that country has allowed the Australian government and the police force to come to their country and take you home. So they're extraditing you back to Australia to be punished. When that happens, you could say that you're having to go back to Australia to face the music. So the police and the Aussie government have come to get you in the Philippines and they're forcing you to face the music. It's time to face the music. It's time to accept the consequences of what you've done wrong and receive the punishment for it. You're going to have to come back to Australia, go to court and face the music. Example number 3, the last example, say you've had a fight with your wife or your husband, so your partner, and you've gone out with your mates to a local pub. So, okay, imagine you're a guy who likes to drink. You've gone out to a pub, which is sort of an establishment that sells beer, usually on the corner of streets that you'll go to in Australia, especially out in country towns. There'll be lots of pubs. So you're out there hanging with your mates and you're kind of avoiding having to deal with the situation, with the fight that you had with your partner. So you don't want to go home and you don't really want to face the consequences of that fight. When you finally accept that it is time to go home though, and to confront this issue with your partner, so, maybe after a few hours, after a few drinks and you've cooled down, you've calmed down, you're in a better state of mind, you might say, look, it's time for me to go home. It's time to face the music. I'm going to have to go home and sort this out with my partner, and it's time to face the music. I guess it's time to head home, guys. Time to face the music. Time to get this all sorted out. I have to face the music. So that's it for the examples, guys. Hopefully by now you get what the expression to face the music means. As usual, we'll go through a listen and repeat exercise, guys, and I'm going to say this just as I would as a native speaker. So listen and repeat, guys, and practice your pronunciation. I've got to face the music. You've got to face the music. He's got to face the music. She's got to face the music. We've got to face the music. They've got to face the music. It's got to face the music. So for this exercise, obviously you've heard me use got to, but I've actually contracted it together into gotta, which I actually pronounce as more of a goda kind of sound. Gotta. So it's using that T flap that we've gone over previously. So if you have got to do something, it means you have to do something, you need to do something, you must do something. And we often use got when we've contracted have onto the pronoun. So if I say I've gotta, I use got because it sounds weird to say I've to face the music, you've to face the music. We wouldn't say that as natives. So if we contract have, we have to use got. Anyway, pronunciation and connected speech tip wise, as I said, I used got to and I contracted this to gotta. So to often gets turned into a ta or an kind of sound when it joins the verb before it. So when there's a verb that's in the infinitive form with to before it, so in the case of I have got to face the music, the to before face will often get contracted onto the word before it. So you're going to hear examples most commonly in English, such as going to, gonna, need to, needa, have to, haveda, want to, wanna, plan to, planner, hope to, hopeda. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. If you want to practice this pronunciation and connected speech tip, I really recommend signing up to the Aussie English Supporter Pack or the Aussie English membership that's on the website at the moment. You can try it for $1. This episode, we're going to go through a lot of different exercises learning how to use to have to and to have got to, as well as contracting have onto the pronouns. We're going to practice substituting in and out of have to and have got to. We're also going to practice these pronunciation and connected speech parts where we contract to onto different verbs. So we're going to practice things like gotta, wanna, gonna, have to, hopes to, etc. So if you want to get access to all that, guys, sign up to the Aussie English Supporter Pack and give it a go. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a killer week. I am currently freezing my butt off in my room. It is the middle of winter and it is absolutely freezing. Last night was the most cold night to date this year. I think it got down to 0 degrees. So I'm going to go and watch some TV and do some more language learning, and I hope you guys have an absolutely killer week. So I will chat to you all soon. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and enjoy your week. See ya. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Aussie English podcast. I love podcasting for you, and I think it's one of the most effective ways to learn a foreign language. To help you guys learn even faster, I have created the Aussie English Supporter Pack. Each week, you get PDF transcripts, exercises, and MP3s for podcast episodes, as well as access to the Aussie English Virtual Classroom. This is a private Facebook group for members only, and it's where you can interact with me and other passionate Aussie English learners every day. If you want to take your English to the next level, visit www.theaussieenglishpodcast.com and click Learn English Faster. You're going to love it, and I'll see you there.